Right, well, Bally Ho, everybody. Welcome to another video. I'm Captain Rambunctious, which you probably already know if you're going to be watching this. Now, I've had Merlin, my Speedmaster now, for a whole year. And because of that, I'm doing a year's review. So this iteration of this Triumph Speedmaster was made in 2018. This one is a 2019 version, and it's a 1200 parallel twin, liquid cooled engine with a 270-degree firing interval. It's going to go hot into this corner. Should be a giggle. Whee! Oh, this is a fun bike. A bit too fast, Rambunctious. That Harley rider was having fun too. So, yes, had this for a year. Now, until about June this year, I'd only done, well, I'd had it, 9 months. I'd only done about 600 miles. I have now done 2,900. Huzzah! Just a couple of months. 3 months. 3 months, sir. 3 months. Lovely. So, went to Wales with the squadron last week and did sort of around about 500 miles, I think, ish. And I've been using it on and off. There's been a few videos, but not a lot. I need to do some reviews as well, as and when I can. Rocket 3 was my last one. That was a hoot. So, Triumph Speedmaster. It no longer comes with this paint scheme. It only comes with the blue and the red, I believe. I shall have to check that. But it's quite dull. This one's lovely. It's two-tone, black and white, crystal white, phantom black. So it's got all the speckles, metallics, speckled paint, lovely, with a hand-painted gold stripe coach line. I do put a tank bag on it. Naughty Rambunctious, naughty. It's got 16-inch wheels, front and back. It's basically the Bobber Black setup. It's very similar to the Bobber. It is about 15 kilograms heavier than the Bobber. It's 245 kilograms dry, so I reckon that's about 255 wet. It's what? 20 kilograms heavier than the T120, bit longer, with a very similar engine. It's got 76 brake horsepower and 77 pound-foot of torque. It's about 115 Newton meters, same as the old Thunderbird Storm, actually. That was a 1700 parallel twin, that had 115 Newton meters of torque. So similar in that respect. Now, I mentioned it in the rocket review that somewhere in my ground school, or engines, or piston engines, or something to do with that, somewhere I learnt that when the torque and the power, torque in foot-pound and power in bhp, when they're a similar figure, you get a very linear acceleration. Well, I might have made that up, I can't remember, but it does seem right to me. Huzzah! So, this bike is 76 bhp and 77 pound-foot of torque. So, very similar figures, and it really is a very... Fucking hell, you indicated late, love. Oh, you've decided to change your mind. All right. Unbelievable. So, very similar. The brakes work, as you can see. Right, the brakes, front brakes, twin discs. Now, the original Bobber came out with just a single disc on the front, but the Bobber Black came with 2 twin discs up the front. 2-pot calipers, Brembo calipers there, and I think it's radial discs as well. Rear is a single pot Nissin rear caliper, and I must say that's one of the negatives of the bike, is the rear brake. There's no bite, it's very spongy, and what I'd like to do is probably at some point I'll put on some sintered HH pads just to get a bit more initial bite with the rear brake, because sometimes I'm sitting on a hill with what I think is enough rear brake on under my foot, and I start rolling back slightly, so it's a bit of a worry. So yes, not enough there on the rear brake, but otherwise it's fine. I suppose it stops you from being a complete ham-footed idiot and stamping on the rear brake and locking up the rear wheel. But then again, we've got ABS, so who cares? Traction control, ABS. You can turn the traction control off, but you can't turn the ABS off. Not really sure why. The only thing I can think of is to turn the traction control off is so that you can smoke the rear wheel and look thoroughly cool doing it. And then, of course, you let go of the bike, it shoots through a fence, and you look like an idiot, but at least your video goes viral. Huzzah! So I've got back from Wales last week. Bike was absolutely filthy. Photographs here. And it was fully loaded. I put the preload. The underneath my seat is the rear spring. It's a monoshock. Front shocks forks are non-adjustable. Rear shock is adjustable for preload. And it's got 7 settings, 7 steps should I say, and you twist it to get into each step. Setting 1 is me, single rider on his own. Setting 7 is when you've got a pillion, and that's basically it in the manual. So when I put on the bags, I put it on to setting 4, thinking, you know, that's what sort of 4/7 of a pillion probably, weight-wise. However, what I did get is on roll-off, when I let go of the handlebars like that, the whole handlebar started to shimmy. So obviously it was out of balance, even with the increase in preload. So that's something to note, that when you have a lot of weight on the back, the front does go light and you do get a bit of bar wobble. But then even just holding on with very lightly with one hand stopped it. So it only if you let go with both hands, which you're not even meant to do anyway, did you get it. So that's not a fault of the bike, probably a fault of the user. User error, as we like to say. So, I love it. Ergos, I've got the forward foot controls, but even so my knees are probably, just over 90 degrees, legs there, so I'm not sort of feet out at all, not like on my old Thunderbird Storm. I've got the straight bars, because I felt the, if you can see where my hand was, about here, I felt a bit too close. My elbow was a bit tucked in, and I felt a bit cramped. Now I'm 6'1", and I have a 32-inch inseam on my legs. So the forward foot control is pretty perfect for me, and having the bar forward, it also brings you forward a bit, so when you go faster, you don't have to lean forward into the wind. Your position is already cantered forward slightly. And it's lovely. The suspension, very good, very well damped. You go over a bump like that, there's an initial compression, and then it's just nice and gentle back. I've also got the Comfort quilted brown seat as well, which does help a little bit with the little bumps, the squidgy bits, yes. So I'm going driving Hope Beacon. It's a lovely day, it's 25 degrees, sunny as you can see. And hopefully my bike is still going to be clean enough to make some good photographs and a good walk around. I'm going to do a walk around and show you everything that I've had put on this bike, things that I'm thinking about having done in the future, things that I thought probably not a good idea, and other things I'm very pleased with. So, Bally Ho, here's to the walk around. Yes. Right, well, Bally Ho, welcome to the walk around of my Speedmaster 1200. I suppose it's a Triumph Bonneville Speedmaster 1200. I call it Merlin, mostly because that's my favourite engine. And it's of the era. Definitely looks 1940s style bike. Very happy with it. Very happy with it indeed. So, up front, let's put the ignition on. Up front we've got full LED lights. Now it starts off with the DRL, and that is the sort of upside down horseshoe one I like to think of it as, and the Rocket 3, the new Rocket 3 has 2 of those. My old Thruxton had the other way up, just the sort of bottom half in a sort of U shape. That profile is lovely. I love the way I've kept the bars low with the mirrors there. Anyway, that is the DRL, nice and bright. And then when we go to the headlight, it's at the top like that, and then when we go to full beam, it's the whole bloody lot. Look at that, isn't that nice and bright? Lovely. So let's turn that off, and shall we put on the hazard lights? Not that I've ever needed them, it's not a Harley. Really, really bright hazard lights. Nice LED ones, they're an extra, but there we go. Really stand out very nicely indeed. So, as I go around it, I'm going to mention the things that I've got differently, and everything that I've got, and what comes as standard. So, let's fly on it, how dare it. Starting at the front, I suppose, we have got the twin discs at the front. To be fair, it actually makes the wheel harder to clean, because having spokes and the polished look rim, It does make it harder to reach the spokes inside if you've got twin discs, but the stopping power is definitely worth it. And there's the ABS ring in the middle there, you can see. Try and keep that clean as much as I can. And then you've got the Phantom Black shiny speckly mudguard on the front, which I believe is metal. It does come with the fork gaiters, but then you've got the clear metal higher up on the fork, and you can actually get covers for those aftermarket if you like, to fully black it out, if that is what you want to do. The headlight, you can get a headlight bezel here if you really want to, but what I've done is I've kept it because I think it goes much better with this sort of flash along the side of the headlight, so I haven't changed that. LED indicators. So one of the main reasons is the standard ones are much bigger and they don't look very good. They don't look, in my opinion, they don't look very good. So that's what I've done there. It comes with a radiator guard, you see. But the Motone ones do them for about £120. You can get a Union Flag one. Now, if it hadn't come with one, then I'd get it. But as it's already got one, I'm not that bothered spending £120 on a Union Flag one. However, there are Farkles on here that I didn't need, but bought regardless. These are the standard levers. So 5 positions on the front brake and 4 positions on the clutch. Again, fine. I have noticed the clutch become a little wobbly, but not sure anything needs doing up. So I might just get the black. I do want black ones at some point. Just what with furlough and everything, can't really afford it. Mirrors coming round here. So mirrors wise, I've got these Triumph branded peep mirrors, and I had to get the black bar ends as well. Now originally it came with sort of teardrop mirrors that come out of here, and they come up to about sort of here, and they just stick up. I prefer the lower profile, but what they have done is they've actually widened my bars, which can hinder filtering somewhat, but I'm not that bothered. I got the flat bar, which is from the Bobber, and I got the black one, so it's from the Bobber Black. And with that it came, the original dog bone clamp was grey, with just Triumph written on it. Now that was the only grey part on the entire bike apart from the switchgear, so it looked out of place once I'd got the black bars. So very kindly, a friend of mine, member of the squadron, donated this and even fitted it for me, but also with the black cups as well. So top and bottom are black now, so it all looks much better. Top of the brake reservoir cap, I've had that put on as well. That's about £30, I seem to remember. Now, what we have got, we've obviously got the steering lock there, because the key position is there. So you don't have a key in the headstock, so having the lockable steering there wouldn't really work. So you have a separate one. So it's a bit old school there, like the old Thruxtons and Bonnevilles. Coming down then, I've got the ACG badge that side, black there. Sort of matches the Triumph Motorcycles black badge there I've got on the faux carb there as well, which is basically just a throttle body. I've also got the black fake air intake cover too instead of the silver one. I found that the brushed silver pitted in corrosion, so I got the black one instead. Same with the engine cases. They come as chrome standard, or brushed, chrome I think, to go with the header pipe, and got black ones to go along with it. I have the brown quilted seat. I also have the brown quilted pillion pad, but at the moment I've got this pressed luggage carrier there, which has been very useful when I've been travelling, because I put the Krieger bag on top of that and then put a tent on top of that. Picture here. And then these are the pannier racks from SW Motec that bolt on there. You can get a strap system, but these clip on very nicely, very easily, and it's much more solid, and they float nicely, and they keep out of the way of everything else. And you can get the bigger bags because they don't get anywhere near the exhaust. Speaking of the exhaust, I got the Vance & Hines pipes, slip-ons, from point of sale. However, on the Speedmaster, the downpipes are chrome, and then the pipes, the Vance & Hines pipes, are brushed. They do polished, so that's something I need to look into at some point and get changed. However, I am looking at the British Customs pipes, whether I get the Sleeper Pros or just the straight pipes, that are chrome, polished, so they match the downpipes better, and they should make a better sound as well. I'm not going to decat because that was an expensive difference, and also if you get the decat and open pipes, you end up having a straight through pipe and it's just too loud. So what I would like to do is just play with different slip-ons at some point. I have got the paddock stand bobbins, which work very well, must admit, because obviously there's no room for a centre stand. But you could use the cups if you want, but the bobbins work just as well. It's got the LED rear. I'm a bit naughty, I have the 7x5 black and silver number plate, but so far so good with that. The lettering is actually big enough for Gatso cameras and to be legal, so it's just the size of the plate and the colour which I'm sort of risking. ABS on the rear there, you can see the plate on the disc, and rather than some of the modern classic bikes, the caliper hides underneath the wheel, which people worry about rocks and things hitting it. It's actually tucked up there in there. I've got the olive swing arm bag. I've also adorned it with this cheap leather tool roll bag from Amazon, and that just straps on quite neatly there, or on the back there, quite happily. And it's good for a bottle of whiskey. Didn't say that. Right. There's the Vance Nines pipes, forward controls, a clutch side embellisher with the T in the middle, and there's the other one there. And this is my latest acquisition, a Denali sound bomb horn. It's more than twice as loud as the original, but I do need to twist it so it's pointing downwards. But it's meant to go on the front of the bracket, but there's no room because of the exhaust pipe. So I've had to put it on the back. So there might be a corrosion problem there, we'll find out. And we'll see. Again, the black fake air intake cover and the adornment on the throttle body there. That is about it, I believe, everything that I have done to this. I've got this rather obnoxious sticker on it. I quite like it. It's growing on me, but of course I can always take it off. Ultimately, it's actually protecting the paintwork a little bit at the moment, so when I put the tank bag on that's the magnetic one from SW Motec, that's on the Legends series, same as the panniers. Here's a picture of it all loaded up. So in a way, it's probably protecting the paintwork a bit, but I don't know, is it too much or not? I quite like it, actually. I think it pops nicely. But we'll see. I mean, it's not really in keeping with the bike, is it? But who cares? It's my bike. It looks hunched over, it looks butch, strong, and it is fast. Anyway, whilst I was doing this, I got spotted. A fan who watches TMF as well and others, a chap called Steve, had a nice long chat with him and his wife about my bike, basically, and about biking in general. Really nice chap. Just thought I'd give him a shout out and say, really nice to meet you, and hopefully you'll get a bike soon. I'll be in trouble though. I think what we need to do now, that's a nice bike. Look at that. Nice Bonneville. So, when it's not so busy, in fact it's not that busy now, we can do some engine, and I'll press the new horn as well. It's now 120 decibels. But yeah, I do need to work out that bracket and where I can put it. But I'm now on the road, so I thought using my horn would be acceptable. Obviously I don't think it was before. So here we go, here's the new horn. It's a lot louder, and it's a lot like a car horn. It's got a deeper tone as well. And then here we go, exhaust ejaculations now. Okay, so this, what's happened actually is over the time, the pipes have got throatier and rortier because the engine's now running, or close enough. I mean, it's done what, it's done over 2,000 miles, so that's, well, barely running, but it's running better. It certainly sounds better. The Thruxton got the same as well. After about 1,000 miles, the engine sounded better. There was more popping going on the overrun and that sort of thing. So here we go. There we are. Bally Ho. So what do we think? Do we like that or not? I think it's nice. It's just a sticker. Wasn't expensive. Okay. Check the camera. Here we go. So yes, well and truly used to this bike now. As he hits some gravel and falls off. But it is an intoxicating acceleration. Come on, hope you wait for me, Mr. Nissan Patrols, huh? Or is it? I think it's an X-Trail, actually. There's the ice cream van man. He's a nice chap. Yeehaw. Right, cattle grid. Not that we like these. Now, yes, I had a moment on a wet cattle grid in Wales where the front just went whee to one side, so I put my foot down and I was all right. But holy cow, that's pretty much the closest I've got to crashing. I actually think the seating position on this helped me because my weight's back and I just sort of went with the handlebars and it was absolutely fine. There's a lot of mass and momentum, you see, but yes, it could. I think if I'd been on any other bike or not paying much attention, I'd just lost the front wheel and gone splat. But normally 50-55 along the bumpy road. Boing, boing. It's nice. Nothing jarring, just up and downy. Nice and smooth and progressive, well damped. So this is basically almost a review, really, isn't it? Going through the whole thing. In Wales, interesting enough, surprisingly enough, in Wales I had to go in rain mode. There's the mode button. I'd forgotten where it was. Because I'd never used it. I'd never used rain mode in a year until we went to Wales last week. So the things this got, we've got a clock, we've got a fuel gauge, we've got a gear selector, gear indicator, we've got the revs, digital revs, not that you really care. It tops out at about 6,900 RPM, red line. The odometer, which is 2,910 miles, road and rain mode, just 2 modes. And traction control is basically on or off. ABS is on all the time. Yes, so we've got an odometer, trip 1, trip 2, miles to the gallon, instantaneous miles to the gallon, average miles to the gallon, 52. I tend to get about 55 miles to the gallon on average. I did do, going along at 70, on a motorway, I got 65 miles to the gallon, and going along at 50 miles an hour in an average speed camera roadworks contraflow system. Bloody wet road now. Oh, I'm gonna have to clean my fucking bike. Pants. 50 miles an hour average, I got 75 miles to the gallon. But who's gonna bloody ride like that? Boring. So I would say spirited riding about 52, bit of both, probably 55, 60. Extreme slow riding 75. Now on a 12-litre tank, I'm normally getting about 10 litres before I fill up. That's basically when the range gets to about 0. There's about a litre left in the tank, so that can't just be fuel pump and lines. There must be an extra half a litre there just in case. Still don't want to push it, but certainly on the last tank I went 140 miles, and that took me with a range down to 0. And that was with a mixture of motorway, fast motorway, and twisty stuff, and just chilling as well. So that was mixed riding, got me 140 miles. So that's good to know. Why on earth are you on this road if you're a convoy exceptional? Bloody hell. Convoy exceptional. Makes no bloody sense. Anyway, lovely day, nice and warm. So we've got the fuel consumption, we've discussed that. The next thing is range. It's got a range thing. Most accurate, actually. Goes down to 0 pretty much when the fuel gauge gets to nothing. And then I've got about a litre left. That's what I reckon. Anyway, I will at some point, because I'm a bit of a geek like this, I'm going to ride around with a 5-litre tank of petrol. Spare can, that's what I was after. I will ride around with a spare can of fuel until it goes out. And then I should have an idea of what range I've got on mixed riding. I reckon 150 miles is before you sort of roll into a fuel station. Next thing, back to the clock. So, they're the modes and they're the functions. Now, this is quite forgiving in the corners, actually. You can go into a corner hot and then press the brake and it won't want to go straight. You do have to sort of counter steer a fair amount to get it leant over, but once it's leant over, it's actually it feels quite sort of twitchy and unstable, so it feels quite light, so it's quite easy. Now, if you don't want to scrape the pegs, you do have to lean over to sort of push the bike up like that. But then that's kind of what you should do anyway. So if anything, it just forces you to ride properly, which is always wonderful, isn't it? So going along fairly swiftly along this A road. It's a bit bumpy. There's the odd jar, but no, it's not a flat road at all. So maybe I'm just going a bit too fast for the surface. 6 gears, I find that 4th gear takes me up to pretty much any top speed I really want, and then 5th and 6th are just added extras really. In 6th it doesn't really accelerate, it just shakes and goes, no, I'm not going to do that. And then at 5th is alright, 4th is better. So then generally 3rd up to 70, 4th up to whatever you want, and then hit 5th and 6th for cruising. Yeah, lovely. It red lines in 1st at 50, red lines in 2nd at 70. But just to keep the engine happier, I tend to change up maybe 15, 10 miles an hour before that. Otherwise it just sounds noisy and you can feel a slight drop off of acceleration. But on twisty stuff like this, 4th gear is fine. 3rd is if you're really on it, you know, because I'll take you up to 90 on a private road. So you can just have a good fart about, really. Oh, they had to tighten what I call the Jesus nut, the top yoke nut, when I had a bit of exhaust pipe tightened. So that gets me on to things other than routine maintenance. First of all, bloody corrosion smeghead fuckface. The levers corroded, the faux carbs corroded. They got this white pitting and white powder on them in the winter. One ride on the 18th of December, this is well documented in other videos, but one ride, I then waited the next, because I got in home late. It was very wet and salty. I got home late, so I didn't wash it that night. Next morning, bike was fucked. It was covered in shit. I had to wash it, but it had already done its damage. Rust spots on the wheels, spokes, and basically all the shiny bits. Even a bit of a few rust spots on the old chrome grab handle. So Triumph took it back and basically got Freddie Trott to do it up. So it got trotted. Lovely chap, really well. Now, the reason why I left it overnight is because I'd paid £400 for this Gen 3 ceramic coating. Obviously it's not the sort of ceramic you get on a watch, because that's basically indestructible. I had that idea that a ceramic coating would basically make the bike impervious to anything, and you just had to hose it. The instructions are you just hose it down with water when you get home. I couldn't, it was late, so I did it the next morning. So I would say complete waste of money. Now Freddie Trott though has just started putting in an extra ceramic coating on top of what he normally does. So full protection. But he had actually said that it was a waste of time. So but he's obviously had an experimentation or a sponsorship deal, and he now uses that too. But what he does is just magic. He brought this bike up to such a high standard. It was amazing. So yeah, now the front cover, sort of the exhaust cover over the cat on the left, that keeps coming loose and slipping off. And at one point, the front part of the slip-on, which goes into the cat, was coming out of the cat box. So that had to get bolted in as well. So I wasn't very impressed with that, because on riding back from Loomies, I had to sort of keep using my heel to kick it back in. I don't think it was going to fall off, because of course the exhaust mount at the back was still secure, but it was very wobbly and very annoying. When I had the Gen 3 ceramic coating, this is a new clock. When I had the Gen 3 ceramic coating, the person who did it had got a fingerprint on there and then coated it so you couldn't wash it off. So I got a new clock out of that. That was at point of sale though, so that was one of the first things. I've mentioned the fact that I've got brushed slip-ons, not polished. I wouldn't want chrome, that's ridiculous. But yeah, I would like the exhaust to match all the way along. Seems a bit foolish that it doesn't. Now the beauty of this bike is its pickup. It just rolls. Beautiful. Now I was in 4th, so if I put it into 3rd, watch this. Cracking! Utterly cracking. And wind buffeting, hardly any, but maybe that's just because I'm used to a naked bike, but then again, the forward bars, the straighter bars are pulling me forwards, which is, and that was a punt. That was a complete punt. I'd never ridden something like this because the Bobber Black has the straight bars, but they're on risers, so they're up here. So this seating position is quite unique. Having the forward foot controls and the straight bars, it's because even with the Storm with the straight bars called drag bars, they were much sort of higher up and everything. So this is a very nice. So this was just an experiment that worked. The only other thing is, if I want more ground clearance, I'll get the mid-foot controls. That's 300 quid and then a lot of labour. I looked at the fitting instructions and there's a shitload of. Basically, 300 quid. You get all the mid controls. So you get the pedals, you get the gear lever, you get the gear shifter. You also get the rear brake pedal as well. You get everything. So you have to take all of this off and then put the whole lot on. So you keep everything just in case. Now, there's a stress plate in the front, which is the bracket that the forward controls go on. You get a replacement stress plate that goes between the front downpipes of the frame. Boom! Have some of that. Hey! It is fun. Absolutely great fun. It's like the Bobber in that respect, but it's more practical. You've got all the kit on the back, and I don't think there's much else I can say about the Speedmaster, except the style is the one thing I haven't mentioned fully. Perfect for me. 1940s look. When I was fully kitted up, Bigglesworth said I looked like a 1940s dispatch rider, which is kind of what I think is quite cool. Really like it. It's solid. I haven't really had any major issues. Engineering wise, it's fine. It's due its first service. Nothing to quibble, really. Maybe the rear brake could do with a bit more bite, as I've already mentioned. But anyway, thank you very much for watching. Tally Bally Ho, and see you soon. The next video you'll see is probably the Wales one. Good luck. Bye.